Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I got the chance to see Weapons over the weekend, and after taking a few days to process what I saw, I can honestly tell you that I loved this movie. For those who don't know, this movie had a really cool marketing strategy where they dropped the trailer in the vein of found footage to make it look like a real event. Apparently this movie tested so well with audiences that when Jordan Peele put in a bid to distribute and produce the movie and lost, he fired his entire management team. Now, after seeing the movie, I can totally see why he did that. This movie is awesome. It's got everything: creepy atmosphere, funny dialogue, and an overall really intriguing premise. While all of those help shape the movie into something really unique, where I can say this movie truly shines in is with the camera work and editing. Seriously, this is one of the biggest flexes of camera work I've seen in a while. This film is jam-packed with slow camera movements, dolly zooms, and match cuts galore. It was a really nice change of pace to be so focused on the visuals of the movie instead of the content itself. Now that the nerding out is out of the way, let's talk about the movie as a whole. So while this movie was marketed as a horror movie, I can tell you straight up that that is just not the case. If I'm being truly honest, this movie was a borderline comedy. It has tons of humor throughout and only very few moments of true terror in my opinion. Now, with me saying that, I don't mean that the movie wasn't scary at all. It was definitely creepy, it's just not what I expected going in. Where the horror is at its most scary is in the atmosphere. A lot of the movie is very quiet, so you'll be put in a space where the absence of sound is what's most unnerving. That, alongside the very slow camera movements, with slow zooming in or out, or just having the camera linger on empty space in a dark room, leaves your imagination to create the terror. The editing of this film really allows the audience to do much of the work of creating the scare because you don't know when or where the danger will be. Also, the movie rewards those who pay close attention to the scenes because the narrative jumps back and forth in time a lot, which I appreciate because it adds an extra layer of flair and depth to the movie as a whole. Let's shift now to talking about the characters in the film. So starting off, this movie is unique in the sense that there is no main character. No one person is of more importance than another because each perspective and their experiences change how the audience understands the story as a whole. The story is told in chapters, each focusing on one of a few set of characters and depicts how each character's journey connects with each other. The performances in this movie were great all around. Julia Garner is effective in selling her character as a victim of circumstance and the paranoia of having an entire community out to get her. It was definitely a drastic inversion of her character in Fantastic Four. There's a scene in the movie where her character ends up falling asleep in a car, and that became so unnerving when you see what comes after her in the dark. That scene was just another great example of the camera work and use of shadows being so stellar. Josh Brolin does a great job at portraying an emotionally stressed father seeking answers to his son's disappearance. Even Austin Abrams, of Euphoria fame, became easily one of my favorite characters in the movie as a desperate junkie who ends up at the wrong place at the wrong time, all in an effort to get a quick fix. Austin by far has one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie, and trust me, you'll know it when you see it. This film does a great job of executing what's known as the promise and deliver. What I mean by that is one action or event is shown or mentioned, but we don't get the full context of that event until later. In one character's chapter, we see, for example, the ending of a chase scene. While we don't know what's causing such erratic behavior, we learn in one of the following chapters what led up to the events of the chase. I mentioned earlier how the story jumps back and forward in time. It does that in an effective way to withhold key information to further the mystery about what's really going on. That use of successful storytelling culminates in all of the characters' journeys converging at the same time and place towards the end of the film. This is done to great effect to help the audience become an active participant in piecing together the story. Okay, now let's shift to some things that I thought could have been improved on in the film. So going back to what I had mentioned in the beginning of the video, this movie to me was more funny than scary. My theater was quite packed and there were definitely moments of intense laughter with a few instances of the oh shit what's about to happen next moment sprinkled throughout. While I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with the movie being funny, I came into this movie looking for one thing and I was met with another. Another thing I wanted to touch on were the various dream sequences in the movie. The movie has a few of these relatively close to each other, and I feel that this is where the movie leaned into the classic jump scare technique that I thought was a bit underwhelming. Thankfully, the movie doesn't rely on these too much for any kind of scares, but it was there enough to notice it. One last thing that the movie does that may leave the audience wanting more is that it doesn't give you all of the answers. While the main gist of the story is figuring out what happened to the missing children and where did they go, when you finally do find out what happened to them, it is never fully explained why what does happen to them does. The movie gives you just enough for you to understand the plot, but not enough to understand the motives of the true villain. I think if the movie gave a bit more context as to why the villain is doing what they're doing, then it would have gone a long way towards a better understanding of the story. While I did like how the movie ended, I do feel like it ended on a more comedic tone instead of a narrative driven one, which was a bit of a letdown. All in all, I had a really great time with this movie. I think it definitely deserves the praise that it's getting, not only for the story that it tells, but for the craftsmanship of camera work that is on showcase the entire film. If you're interested in this movie for a good scare, then I think you might leave a little disappointed. It's not a traditional horror movie. In fact, I would call it more of a suspenseful thriller with great camera work and some gnarly practical effects. But that brings us to the end of my review on Weapons. I got the chance to see it in IMAX, but I don't really think it was that necessary. I think you'd get the same experience from any showing. If you've seen the movie, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Try to be as spoiler free as possible for those who may not have seen it just yet. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned to my next review coming very soon. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys next time.